Tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to go back into an episode of Dream Talk. And tonight, we're on episode 48, and we're just going to be talking about sitting in the middle of a dark room with my games on the floor. From almost the beginning of time, there's been a rebellion against the light. The light tonight, we know, is Jesus, the things of God. The darkness is Satan. And guess what? Satan, the darkness, hates the light. What communion does darkness have with the light? Satan, which is in the darkness, hates everything to do with the light, the ways of God. Satan hates you because you've got his light reflecting from you. Satan wants to destroy you and take you down, kill you, take you out because of whom you stand for. In Job 24:13, it says, "They are of those that rebel against the light. They know not the ways thereof, nor abide in the paths thereof." In this life that we live, we're all on a path. And that path is taking us all somewhere. God has a pathway for you and me. And all we have to do is stay on the way in which he leads you. If you're following him, you can't be going the wrong way. Yeah. You have to be going the right way. And that's why it's important for us to keep our eyes focused on him. Even when we go through tough times, keep your eyes on him, follow him, and you're going to find out everything is going to fall into place. In Job 24:14-16, it says, "The murderer, rising with the light, killeth the poor and needy, and in the night is as a thief. The eye also of the adulterer waited for the twilight, saying, No eye shall see me, and disguiseth his face. In the dark they dig through houses, which they had marked for themselves in the daytime. They know not the light." Sometimes people think they can do whatever they want to do because no one can see them. But what they don't realize is that God sees everything that we do as believers. Sometimes we sit in our own little space and we think no one else sees or cares what we say or what we do. The people in the dark, a lot of times, have no desire to know the ways of the light. What are we doing in our personal room? And who is feeling the effects of the light that we're reflecting? Here's the reason why I entitled this tonight. Entitled The Dream, sitting in the middle of a dark room with my games on the floor. And this was back in 2004. I dreamed that I was at McDonald's. I always considered them nightmares. But I was at McDonald's. My car was broken down. Tom Hale, who was my friend, and he's still my friend, he showed up and was replacing something in it. He went to get a part, and he never came back. He also had the old part. I stopped someone, and they called Tom. He said that it didn't matter. He said that I was playing in the middle of a dark room with my games on the floor. Scene changed. I was in a dark room trying to get to work. Was on a bicycle. I'd pedal, but I wouldn't move. It was like I was falling asleep. The interpretation is this. I was at work and my car broke down. Work for God. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. Car represents my personal life. A lot of times we as Christians seem to break down in our walks with the Lord. And the problem is this. Instead of asking for godly counsel, we ask for counsel from the world. You see, we need godly counsel. When things are going bad, we've got to learn to talk to God or talk to someone that we know knows the Lord and knows the way. You see, Tom, he was my old friend. He's still my friend. And I used to run around with him a lot when I was in the world. Susan can attest to that. The world tries to help us out, but they really can't. You know why? Because they don't have the light of Christ on the inside of them. They need to know the light. In this situation, the world seems to notice where I was at. He said it didn't matter. He said I was in a dark room. And sometimes that's where we're at. We're in a dark room by ourselves, and we have our games. Things that maybe we do, and they're on the floor. The world's watching this, and believe it or not, taking notice of our lives. I had a nurse from another hospice company. I was talking to her. And they had their Christmas party. And she got a hold of me for this reason, actually. She goes, Joe, she walked into the Christmas party and their chaplain was drinking a beer. Now, some of you might say, well, that's bad. It's really bad when you're a chaplain. Because she noticed, and as she noticed, how many other people noticed what he was doing. If we're going to be a reflection of his light, then we definitely got to be careful what we do. Anything that I do that would pull somebody away from Christ, a stumbling block, then I'm going to be the one that's going to be held accountable. If I were to walk into our Christmas party, and if I would have a beer in front of me, you know how many people would be shocked? Well, you know, the whole world would be shocked. They would, because they know I'm not going to do that kind of stuff. Yeah. And that's the attitude that we need to have. We got to stand up for what's right. In other words, he's got stuff on the floor, and he don't realize it. But he's affecting so many other people within his workspace. When I first started working for hospice, it was called to Marietta. And Dad passed away, and they wanted me to go up there and give the family comfort, and I did. But I got up there, and everybody up there is drinking. And again, that's their life. It's what they were doing. But they asked me if I wanted a can of pop. Well, I took a can of pop. Well, the nurses walk out, and I looked at her and I said, Pepsi. She looked at me. She goes, I'm going to be honest with you, Joe. I paid attention to what you were drinking. They're watching what you do. Amen. The world's watching what we say. They're watching what we're giving out. So we got to be careful of what we're doing. In the dark room, trying to get to work on a bicycle. I pedaled, but it wouldn't move. And back during that time, I'm sure that's how I was feeling. I was feeling like I was trying to do everything. And I felt like I was falling asleep. Are we falling asleep in our walks? The world's noticing. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, 13 through 15. For such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore, it's no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. Is flesh at work within our lives? In Galatians 5:19 through 21, it says, now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, and such like, of which I tell you before, as I have told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. So, are we sitting in the middle of a dark room with our games on the floor? The world's watching how we're handling situations we're going through. But not only is the world watching, but the church. They're paying attention to the reflection of light that we're giving. We don't want to get caught up like that chaplain from the other company did. We don't want to make our light look bad. You just can't do it. What are you reflecting? The light of God or the darkness of Satan? When people look at you when you're out in the world, do they see Jesus shining through you? Do they see him as he's at work within your life? If I'm going to be a Christian, then there is certain things I need to stay away from. And that was these things that we just read. We don't want to get caught up in all these things. Because if we practice such things, now I'm not saying that sometimes we might not mess up and make mistakes, because we do. But if I continue to live in that lifestyle, guess what? Then I would not inherit the kingdom of God. So what are you reflecting? In Isaiah 5:20, it says, woe to them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. How many realize that we live in a generation right now that calls good evil? And they call evil good. That's where we're at. In other words, what used to be right is now wrong. God, in their eyes, is now wrong. Where the enemy, Satan, is now right. In other words, what used to be considered sin no longer is considered that bad, because there's been a change. We live in a generation that does this. We're not part of those who are putting darkness for light, are we? We as Christians ought to be reflecting the light of God in our situations. No matter what I go through, and sometimes it's not easy, I've got to reflect Jesus. When I'm hurting and I'm down and I'm discouraged and my world seems to be falling apart, and the enemy's coming at me because he knows I'm down, I'm discouraged, and my world seems to be falling apart, I've still got to reflect Jesus. I still got to let him shine through me. And I've got to trust him as I go through things that we go through, and you do too. In a dream, I had my games on the floor that I'd been playing. Do you ever have games on the floor that you're playing? Are you walking in the Spirit? Or are you walking after fleshly things? Satan wants to deceive you. He hates you. And he wants to destroy you. And he wants to see you fall by the wayside without following Jesus. He doesn't want you to know that you have hope of getting out of what you're in. He doesn't want you to know that there's a way maker that's willing to help you get through the situations that you're in. And he will help you. He'll make a way for you as you go through the things you go through. He wants to stop us from following Jesus. John 10:10 says, the thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. And Jesus said, I'm come that they might have life. They might have it more abundantly. The darkness wants to steal, kill, and destroy. But Jesus wants to restore life. And he wants us to have it more abundantly. Satan wants to steal from you. He wants to kill and destroy your walk of faith today. And if you let him, he's going to try. Jesus came that we might have life more abundantly. If you're sitting in the middle of a dark room, it's decision time. You can keep playing games with God, or you can really focus on the abundant life he wants to give you. I got a question. When the world sees you, who do they see? I can say, I walked in the pod one day, and I'm not going to tell you all the stuff that was being discussed, but I made a comment. And I said, so when I leave here, what are you guys going to say about me? And you know what they said? Same thing they always say, that I seem to be always full of joy. And that's the kind of attitude that we got to, even when I'm in a bad mood, I'm still full of joy. Even when I'm discouraged, I'm still full of joy. Because Jesus is the one who gives me joy. He's the one who does that for me. Do they see you at places like that chaplain that maybe he ought not be? I'll be honest with you, he was a young chaplain. He was younger, that's what she said. But I got to be honest with you, I struggle with these kind of things as a pastor and even as a chaplain, because I'm smart enough to know that people are watching and they're thinking to themselves, is that what all Christians do? Is that what they all do? I can tell you this much. It's not what they all do. Do they ever hear you say things that you know is wrong? I'm not going to ask the question, but how many's ever gossiped? I mean, let's be honest. Have we ever done it? Can I honestly say I've never gossiped? I can't say that. We've all done things, but yet when people are hearing me say things about something about like that, what are they thinking about me? What's the reflection? How are they looking at me? How are they looking at you when you do it too? Because we've all done it. You can say we haven't, but most people, they have done it. Do they see you playing games of God in general? How many people do we know that play games of God? Not necessarily, obviously not everybody does, but there's some people who uses God as like I don't know what. But it's like they can do anything they want to do, say anything they want to say, act any way they want to act. And someone said to me, well, ain't that hypocrites? And here's what I say. The best place for a hypocrite is where? At church. Why is the church? Why do they say it's full of hypocrites? But where should they be? They've got to learn from us the reflection of the right light, that we are not going to engage in that kind of talk and that kind of nonsense. And maybe our light can make a difference within their being, if that makes sense to you. And I believe it can. And I believe it will. It's time to pick up our games off the floor. You see, back in 2004, I played games all the time. I'm talking about video games, and that's what was on the floor. And them video games, God ended up kind of in a way delivering me of them, because they were a weakness I had, because I was taking them and I was placing them before God a little bit at that time. And believe me, he took them from me eventually. But we don't want to compromise our walk. Just like when I was up in Marietta and the whole family, I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like this family, nice family. I mean, they're all, you know how you got the coolers and everything, and they're all pulling out their beer and everything. First thing that the guy said to me, he goes, you want beer? I said, no. He goes, I didn't think so. He goes, you want Pepsi? And next thing I knew, I did take the Pepsi. But I'm telling you, when that nurse walked out, I knew she was going to be looking at that can. Would you look at the can? Be honest. Would you look at you would, wouldn't you? You'd pay attention to what the pastor or what the chaplain was drinking. Why? Because we know that we're supposed to be different than they are. We know that, and we get that. But yeah. Oh, boy. All right. So we don't want to compromise our walks today. Hebrews chapter 1:1-3. God at sundry times in divers manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets, having these last days spoken to us by his Son, whom he hath appointed heirs of all things, by whom also he made the worlds, who being made the brightness of his glory and the express image of his person, and upholding all things by the word of his power, when he had by himself purged our sins, sat down at the right hand of the majesty on high. God speaking today. We're supposed to express the image of his person. When people look at me, do they see Jesus reflecting from my life? When people look at me, do they see the love of Christ coming out of my heart? Do they see him? Because if we're a Christian, they're supposed to see him. Not me. They're supposed to see him as he reflects through me, and I'm supposed to make a difference through them as he does the work. Church, if we're in a dark place in our walk, it's time to step into the light of Christ. It's time for us to draw near to the light. It's time for us to get closer and closer and closer to the light. And let his reflection so shine through us. If you're sitting in the middle of a dark room with your games on the floor, it's time to step into the light of God. Jesus, he's in my room. I'm no longer sitting in the middle of a dark room, not knowing where I'm going, what I'm heading, or what's taking place in my life. I now have purpose, even though then I did. But I was learning. I'd only been pastoring for 4 years. And believe it or not, I was learning on the job, on the call, I should say, of what it was and how I was supposed to react. I know one thing for sure. I don't want to be like every other pastor. I don't want to be like every other minister. I want to be like who God has called me to be, not like everybody else. And as a Christian, that's what you got to do. You got to be like he wants you to be and not worry about who everybody else is. I'm on the winning side. I'm not on the losing side. If you want out of your dark place, it's time to step into the light. In Romans 4:21, it says, and being fully persuaded that what he had promised, he was able also to perform. Do you believe that what he's promised, he's able to perform? Do you believe that God can do anything because his word says I can do anything? Anything, can do anything. He's able to do what he said he was going to do within our lives. So if you're struggling, and sometimes Facebook, you're struggling. Sometimes you're struggling with doubt, worry, sometimes addiction. Sometimes you're just worry. Trust me, I worry sometimes too. But I got to learn to continue to step into the light. I got to push forward. I got to pray until something happens. I can't give up. I can't quit. I got to keep on, keeping on. We've heard the song. Step into the water. Wade out a little bit deeper. And that's what we got to do. We got to step into the water. And we got to get in the deeper waters of him. And we got to say, God, all that I can have from you, Lord, I want. Yeah. And God, all that you want me to do, God, I'm going to do. And I'm not going to worry about what everybody else thinks. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to do it your way. We're going to close. Maybe as you're watching this, you feel like you've been sitting in the middle of a dark room with your games on the floor. I want you to know that God will help you. He will strengthen you. He'll encourage you. He'll bring you out of all the stuff you're in. But you've got to surrender. You've got to say, I surrender all. Got to surrender all. That's what he wants us to do, is surrender our lives to him. And if we surrender all to him, everything else is going to fall into place. And it will fall into place, guys. It will. I promise you that if you're willing to surrender, everything is going to fall into place. Yeah. But does that mean I'm going to have to go through trials and tribulation? Yes, I will. But I also know that even when I'm in the dark and I don't know how I'm going to get from point A to point B, I know if I follow him, it's going to be all right. I know in whom I believe, and I'm persuaded that he's able. And he is able. Yeah. And he's going to continue to bring us along to where it is he wants us to be. Anybody have anything they want to say tonight?